Chapter 3 covers communications in the medical office. Not as many key terms for Chapter 3, um, but they're important terms nonetheless. Page 44, introduction is listed there, verbal communication. Verbal communication is important, so is nonverbal communication. So be really careful with how we speak to people and how we even stand, whether we cross our arms, whether we um, even put one hip out to the side. That sometimes can indicate our demeanor. So read through the chapter and you'll catch on to ideas and maybe even be able to improve your own verbal and nonverbal communications. Active listening on page 45. This is a skill that takes so much practice. I'm more aware today than I even was 10 years ago about how poor my active listening is, and yet still sometimes I accidentally talk over people or don't let them finish. And that just is such a bad habit. Active listening is very, very important and something we can all improve upon. So take a look at that section on page 45. 46, written communication. This is exceptionally important in healthcare, whether it is a text, charting, or documenting on a patient's account or note, whether it is sending in orders, whether it's ordering supplies, whether it is handwritten, emailed, all the things, a mailed letter, all of it is written communication. And it doesn't have to be like exactly perfect, but it has to be pretty perfect. Like it has to be exceptional when you are communicate writing and written communication. You got make sure the spelling is correct. Your grammar needs to be decent. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like you're not going to be an English major and publishing articles or anything, but you do need to make sure your communication is above average. Page 48 uh, keeps talking about writing numbers and correspondence, rules for plurals of medical terms. Page 47, 49, sorry, components of a business letter. The chapter covers how to write and what to put in. Use of fonts is even listed there on page 51. Sending letters to patients. What is the fastest way? What is the cheapest way to send mail? Correspondence. Some correspondence within healthcare require a verified signature. Um, and there's different ways to do that. Proofreading on page 42 is important. Goes back to professionalism and making sure that you're writing in an acceptable manner. Abbreviations is a huge thing. You cannot just go to Google or what are some of the other search engines? Yahoo, Bing, is that even one? I might be making that up. Anyway, the search engines are not the appropriate way to look for accepted abbreviations. Each healthcare facility will have their list of approved abbreviations, and you must follow that approved list. Memos within the office are spoken about, um, talked about on page 52, written about, I guess is what I should say, because it's textbook. Page 53, mailing written communications using envelopes, postage meters. There are a few times that I still get like actual mail from healthcare facilities. You can buy postage online these days, delivery options. Page 55, this is more the most popular. Communicating with patients via email or MyChart messaging, that is the most popular for today. The bottom of page 55 kind of goes into what I was just talking about at the beginning of this video. Reading body language, that's nonverbal. We have to be really careful when we're in front of patients what our nonverbal body language says compared to our spoken or our verbal communication, because that body language doesn't lie. We can say what we know we need to say, what's the most professional, polite thing to say, but if we don't fix our face or fix our body, sometimes that speaks louder than our verbal communication. And I'm smiling while I'm saying this because I am guilty of doing such thing, and I work to improve it with each interaction. Page 57, therapeutic touch. Therapeutic touch is definitely something that is well renowned in healthcare. You just don't touch people these days, though, without their permission, of course. Um, Communicating with physicians, page 58, communicating with peers, direct reports. Communication must be concise, must be clear. Consider what that person, how they interpret your information. Make sure you're speaking clearly. The person needs to have it written also so they can hear it, read it, then they can say it out loud to themselves. We must confirm what, especially when we're talking about orders, whether it's a medication or a medical assisted device, we have to confirm what the person told us. We have to reiterate, repeat out loud to confirm what was said for clear, concise communication. 6061, communicating with patients. There's a lot to do with communicating with patients. Um, there's so much advice I could give you. Read through that part of the chapter. The biggest thing is to be kind, listen to your patients. It's great that you can share everything you want to tell them and everything that the orders say to say, or what the discharge instructions are. But if they're not ready to hear you, if they're not receiving what you're saying, then you just need to take a minute. Take a minute, give their brain a minute to reset, rest, and then they can hear what you're saying. Difficult patients on page 63. This is just how healthcare is. Once upon a time, uh, even as a new nurse 20 some years ago, patients and their family members respected the healthcare professionals. Whether it didn't even matter what you did within that healthcare setting, there was a lot of respect. And today, that is not so true. Patients and family members come in entitled. They have got their degree overnight at Dr. Google, and they know what they're talking about, and they don't really respect you, and they don't really want to hear. But that doesn't mean that you treat them any differently. You still communicate well with them. You still treat them respectfully and with dignity, even if you don't agree with how they're acting. Um, you rise above. Communicating across cultures, page 64. This you do not have to be an expert and know every single cultural difference when you enter into healthcare, but if a patient shares their cultural differences with you, or their cultural um, beliefs, expectations, you do your best to embrace them, acknowledge them, respect them, always respect them, and then you kind of meet in the middle. You figure out a plan that's going to work best for that person's expectations and their cultural beliefs. Okay, page 65. That's the chapter review, and then the questions. And yeah, once you review the chapter, if you have any questions, let me know.